All right, it is time for the Maximum PC No BS podcast, episode number 205 for the week of June 17th, 2013. On today's No Intern podcast, we are tackling the huge gaming show in Los Angeles, otherwise known as E3. Microsoft and Sony lock horns once again in the next-gen console war. And do PC gamers even care? We'll also take on Haswell-E and Ivy Bridge E rumors. Maybe we'll get around to the new Mac Pro. We will take some reader questions, give you our picks, and Gordon will go off on some ridiculous tangent we've probably heard before in his patent pending rant of the week. You guys ready? Let's do it. Thank you for listening. I'm your podcast host, Josh Norem. Joining me today are Associate Editor Tom McNamara.
Hi, how's it going?
Tom's a little nervous. It's his first time.
I was kind of spacing out there. So.
He's like,
oh crap, that's me. Hi, hello.
I thought that name sounded familiar.
Deputy Editor Gordon Mah Ung.
Hello.
Editor-in-Chief Katherine Stevenson.
Hi.
And Online Managing Editor Jimmy Thang.
Hello.
We were going to have our new intern join us today, but unfortunately he's literally his first week and he's already taking vacation. So it's not a good...
He had to go to a wedding that was arranged before he got to be an intern. So.
Is it an arranged wedding?
We let him off.
If you're listening to this podcast, Julian, let's just say that we'll give you this one freebie and that's it.
But if he's getting married next week...
You're on a short leash.
Yeah, he's on his own.
All right, and our other intern is also screwing off somewhere. We don't know where he is. So, good times. All right. So before we jump into our topics, I'm gonna real quickly. We have a lot of topics today. 4. We usually do 3. So I'm gonna try and quickly hustle through some iTunes reviews. I actually was gonna skip this today until I went into iTunes and started reading them. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do it. Right now we're on reviews. We have 418 reviews, so we're doing really well. If you have one moment to help us out, please go to iTunes and leave a review. It's awesome for us. It really helps us out. All right, first up, from the usual one, gives us 5 stars, and he says it's titled Entertaining Podcast. I like these. The titles are very descriptive. It's pretty good. His review says, Gordon Mah Ung is the greatest. The swearing can get heavy at times, usually during Gordon's rant. So if that bothers you, you may not want to listen. See, you're turning people off the podcast, Gordon.
Okay.
Gordon's busy over here furiously Googling. All right, second one, we have a guy, these screen names are also hard to read. It really annoys me. Leeleecb. I guess Leeleecb leaves a 5-star review titled Keep 'Em Coming and writes, been reading the magazine ever since boot, heard all the podcasts and still can't get enough. Glad to see them a little more frequent now. Once a week again would be great too, and it's not too much to ask.
That's what he thinks.
It's actually a lot.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's what he thinks.
I could barely make these like every other week.
Yeah, what happens with these podcasts is like right now we're on week number 3 of a 4-week cycle, and we're actually working on Dream Machine. So right now the machine is like halfway constructed and kind of teetering on the brink of almost being able to turn it on, but not quite. And then all these other people are. I mean, there's like at any given time we have a lot of deadlines, very close.
Yeah.
We actually do a lot of work, so unlike some people who do podcasts every week, we actually have to.
Well, I think like if you have just a website, you can kind of push things. Like you don't. I mean, I don't know. They probably have a schedule too. I don't know, but we have a schedule here that's very rigid, so it's really difficult. We can't.
There's like a cliff that we like basically cannot avoid. So.
Yeah. So on every 4th week, at the end of that, there's a cliff there, and we have to basically be providing stuff for it. So it gets hard for us to.
We have to send physical stuff to a printer.
Right.
On a set schedule.
So it would be fun for us to do it 1 week, every week. Leeleecb. Maybe in the future, we'll see. All right, now this is a constructive feedback review from Renaissance 2K. He writes here, his review is titled 10 out of 10 function, 3 out of 10 form. He writes, love the magazine, love the podcast, love Gordon ranting about all things that are rant-worthy. I love the theme music. I really wish you guys would take 15 minutes to do a little post-processing, though, if only to remove the 10,000 times Josh says, okay, guys, we really need to move along here. I don't say that 10,000 times.
Nah.
Maybe once, and it's in the interest of the podcast, Mr. Renaissance 2K, but I do appreciate your feedback. He continues, so Josh, and also properly splicing the music bridges instead of doing a Fisher-Price microphone routine with your laptops. Seriously, though, it's great work, and the team has great insights. I only criticize out of love. So thanks so much for your feedback. I don't think I say that thing that often, but yeah, there was on the last podcast, the intro music kind of cut off abruptly and stuff. We have our intern kind of does the editing on the show sometimes, so we're all kind of strapped for time, but we'll make sure and we'll do our best to improve it for you. So anyways, thanks for that. All right, now I'm trying to find. Yeah, I actually went looking for a bad one. I could not find a bad one. I didn't want to go back to the year 2009. So I did find this is the worst I could find. This is the worst I could find. The title is Technology Journalism at its best. So this is the worst. Maximum PC still produces a magazine and I still subscribe. The writers are that good. The podcast is great. Can only be better if it was more frequent and longer, and Gordon's rants are never long enough for my tastes. I don't agree with that review at all. Just kidding.
See?
Gordon is monosyllabic today.
Yeah, he's saving it up.
All right. Gordon's saving it up for the rant. We don't mind. All right. So Jimmy just got back from E3, big gaming show in Los Angeles, big gaming trade show. What would you call it? Gaming convention, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
Expo.
trade show.
All right, Jimmy. What'd you see down there?
Well, this year obviously was a very big year with Microsoft and Sony showing off their new next-gen consoles. I think most people were surprised by how beat up Microsoft was after their press conference, because basically Sony kind of stole their thunder right, from underneath them, with the PS4 being $100 cheaper.
Were people throwing like beer bottles at them, like the Blues Brothers and the classic movie, The Blues Brothers?
Well, the PlayStation conference was after. It was the same day after. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought maybe it was just like they were on stage and people were throwing like fruit and beer bottles at them or something, or maybe batteries.
So
I guess it's E3. They'd probably be throwing
Might have
like,
been
smartphones and maybe what the fuck? You just cut me off.
No, I can still hear you.
I can't hear shit now.
I hear you.
I
I'm
think
turning you down because you're like the loud. It's like popping, dude.
But I can't hear shit in my headphones now.
I think you might have turned down his headphones back. So.
Yeah, you're fine.
There you
I
go.
can hear you.
Okay. Now I can hear myself. That's bizarre. Can't you just crank the gain down on the...
Hello? Okay.
Yeah, okay, test. Better?
Yeah. So no, Microsoft's press conference was in the morning, and I don't know, like I was there. I was at both press conferences. After leaving Microsoft's press conference, it's like, that was okay. They showed off a bunch of, games, exclusive games.
Actually, what was the mood? Because the mood definitely worsened after Sony's press conference.
Yeah.
So right after Microsoft's, was there excitement? Was it?
It was just okay, I think.
Yeah.
Most people were like, that wasn't bad. Like, they didn't, fall on their face or anything like that. And, they announced that it was $500, which a lot of people thought was kind of expensive. But, it's like PlayStation 3 came out $600, so, I guess fair enough, I suppose. And then just a couple hours later in the evening, Sony had theirs and announced that it was going to be, the biggest, the cheer came from the fact that Sony announced that the PS4 would support used games and not have any DRM measures, because I believe with the Xbox One you need to be online.
Right.
You need to actually log online or be online at least once in every 24 hours. With the PlayStation, you don't have to do that. You can play offline just fine. You can trade in your used games, let your friends borrow it. You don't have to register or anything like that. And then just people just got really excited, started cheering, and there was actually a lot of laughter in the crowd because everybody's basically laughing at Microsoft and the Xbox.
Right, because it was a dig. Right.
I heard that
Yes.
Microsoft did they cancel a bunch of I heard they canceled some stuff.
Yeah, this was prior to the event. It wasn't the day of or anything like that. But there were supposed to be interview opportunities after the press conference, and then they just nixed it because I think they didn't want to answer questions about DRM or anything like that.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
So did E3 as a whole feel kind of console heavy, or was it?
It was weird because even though it was a big year, I felt like just being at the show floor, just for me and what I heard from some of my friends at the show, was that it seemed to lack an excitement in the air. And
Well, I think part of that probably has to do with the fact of how much information about the consoles have been leaked online by the time E3 came around. I think that was really the case with the 360 or the PS3. We didn't really know nearly as much as we did with the Xbox One and the PS4.
But also, I don't think there was any gimmick. Like, before you had like the Wii, when the Wii was first unveiled, it was like this brand new thing where you move your hands and stuff like that. It's like a new way to play. And then when the Kinect came out, it was like, oh, you can use your whole entire body. There's no controller. And now it's like the new consoles come out and the graphics don't look that great. I mean, I think some like current gen stuff, like certainly some PC games, blow it away. So it's like basically it's just more of the same.
Well, what about the Oculus Rift? Was that getting a lot of attention?
So I saw that there. It might have been shown more behind closed doors. I saw it just being demoed by some company that was showing off this new relaxation software. It was really weird because you had a mic and you're just supposed to like whistle into it or something like that, or blow into it, and then that would sort of change what you were seeing. And when I put on the Oculus Rift, I was seeing this like circular orb that was like spinning in the air. Like I wasn't able to play it. It wasn't really interactive. Like I couldn't walk around or anything like that. So you just see this spinning orb, and there wasn't really much head tracking, which is like a big part of the Oculus Rift. And so it was actually kind of making me dizzy. It was kind of weird. But I will say, though, that was my first time trying it on. I will say that surprisingly, it does a pretty good job of creating the sense of depth. Like it felt like because obviously when you're wearing it, it's just like, an inch in front of your eyes. But like the way you perceive it is like the orb was like right here. It was really weird. Like I feel like I could just reach out and grab it.
Were you wearing your Google Glass? You have to take those
underneath.
off. The Google Glass is not compatible.
I was wearing my
with
glasses, and then I was wearing the Google Glass on top of that. Then I was wearing the Oculus Rift.
Were there people there wearing Google Glass?
Actually, I did not see anybody wearing Google Glass there. I don't think. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. It's a good sign.
But they actually might have been prohibited.
Yeah, but I mean,
they could theoretically record something like behind. Yeah.
I mean, there was even though the new next gen consoles did get revealed there was still a lot happening in the PC space. Nvidia was there showing off their new video cards. AMD was there, showing off their new CPUs and their gaming laptops. Razer was there showing off their new Razer Blade 14-inch form factor, as was Alienware as well. They're showing off their new 14, 17, and 18-inch gaming laptops.
Did people, we saw that news of the AMD made a CPU announcement down there, which is kind of a weird, I don't know, it's kind of a weird place to make an announcement for a CPU, but they announced their first 5 gigahertz CPU down there. Did people, what was the reaction like down there?
Yeah, I think I believe I have a video of that, and I think I was talking to the AMD representative at the time, and he was talking about it. I have to go back and check, but I think he was showing off the CPU running like 5 gigantic screen TVs, and I think he was saying up to like 5 gigahertz. It was a really impressive booth, but I don't think most people on the show floor knew, unless you're like a PC enthusiast, knew that it was actually a new hardware announcement.
But yeah, we heard they were announcing new hardware, quote unquote, and we thought, 8,000 series GPUs, like wow, awesome. And then they were like, this new CPU that basically it's like a 4.7, I think, and it turbos at 5.
4.4, 4.7, 220 watt TDP and OEM only. So not retail part, you can't buy it.
Yeah,
we might be able
to buy a whole system.
Might be able to at some point later though.
Yeah, maybe later, I suppose, but right now you can't. So
yeah, and I was actually also at NVIDIA's press conference, and they seem really excited about the new next-gen consoles. And their reasoning is that the new next-gen consoles are much more powerful than the consoles out today, and that will basically increase the demand for graphics. So, games are going to look better, and will be able to, in turn, take advantage of their new GPUs.
So they're saying that basically the current game consoles are fucking boat anchors. On gaming, all gaming.
They were a little.
It's
nicer.
like, so you're on a speedboat with like 4-way Titans or dual 7990s, and you've got fucking Xbox 360 and PS3 as boat anchors dragging on the bottom of the lake.
Oh, Last of Us on the PS3 looks pretty good, but then again, it is running at 720p at 30 frames per second, so there are trade-offs.
Oh yeah.
You know what though? I've been hearing this. I remember when Hardware TNL came out like a decade ago, and they were like, "This new technology is going to allow for superior enemy AI and blah blah blah." And basically, the line was that hardware is going to come along that will make your gaming experience improved through this and that and blah blah blah. And bottom line is you can have an awesome game with total crap graphics. It really does not matter that much.
Yeah, but it's a very valid point. I mean, really, they are boat anchors because all the game developers they go for consoles first because that's where all the money is, and then they just sort of like whatever. We'll contract with this guy we found on the street corner to do the port to the PC, and they don't add anything else. So all PC games are basically running at at games coded for 720p at 30 frames a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
With the PS4, apparently the power is about on par with the 7870 Radeon 7870 or a GTX 660. So there's a lot of gamers out there who don't have video cards that are even that powerful. So for gamers like them, you could have basically a straight port across, and you could make it look just as good on the consoles and the PC, and you wouldn't be weighed down by the consoles like we are now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There was an interesting article today too that one of the Xbox developers at the trade show, his demo crashed and it went to a Windows 7 desktop, and then it was raised eyebrows because they thought they would be running on an Xbox machine. But he said no, this was a special occasion just for one. But I was reading I think it was Fudzilla. They said that they talked to some other developers who all said that they actually developed the games using NVIDIA hardware. So they're gonna develop to the end where they have to somehow switch it over to AMD.
Why would they even?
Yeah, that's
did
really
he
weird.
say why?
It just said that was their current testing, their current development environment is using GTX.
Well, that's because NVIDIA has had fantastic developer relations for a long time.
Maybe that's why they're excited.
Well, the main reason why this was an embarrassment to Microsoft and AMD, which is the system being discovered, is there was an HP system running Windows 7 with NVIDIA GPU in it. And it's like you're supposed to be running Xbox with Windows 8 with AMD. Like that's kind of what.
Right.
So it was kind of funny, but. They said they talked to some other developers, and they said, and then so the official line became, well, this was just one developer. This one developer was too late. They were running around, so they decided just to bring a PC to the show and run it on that. That's why. But then they said they talked to some other developers. They were like, no, we all kind of use it on a PC in the background, and then we eventually we'll switch it over.
That's one of the nice things about computer games is all of our computer games are demoed on computer games, and there's no question. There's no confusion. There's no what's behind the curtain.
Well, it's kind of funny though because really. Xbox, the new Xbox and PS4 are basically PCs.
Yeah, they're x86,
right? So they're PCs, the PC derivative hardware. There's nothing anybody can say that they're not PCs, and these guys are bending over backwards to try to we've seen this happen a few times where people will say, oh, it's actually beyond PC.
Well, they're probably talking about the unified system RAM.
Yeah, but I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like, oh, well, because we use, this one thing, not necessarily better, but we use this thing that's different. Somehow it's next generation. I don't buy it, So, but it's just funny because they keep getting themselves in trouble.
It's
because they're used to saying, oh, it's better than PC gaming, where it's clearly they're coming out. They're going to be inferior to PC gaming.
It's next gen compared to the previous generation of consoles, but certainly not compared to PCs. So who's going to win this war? Well, I mean, if
besides
there was
the PC, obviously.
if both consoles were available today, I don't think it would be too controversial to say that Sony would take an early lead.
Yeah,
I think part of. Sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was just gonna say it seems like Xbox got kind of cocky this time around.
Well, this seems to be what I was going to say was people are already they're kind of agitated by Microsoft's attitude regarding Windows 8 and everything. They're sort of like they're a little bit irrationally upset about Windows 8 and the fact that they were forced, quote unquote, to have this Metro interface and people are already pissed.
Well,
right?
there's some parallels with
there's some so they're already kind of like in this sort of frenzy of man, Microsoft is such bullshit, and then so now the Xbox comes out and of course people don't really like it, and now Sony comes, and then Sony sort of plays this trump card right on top of them, and everyone's yeah, suck it.
And the irony is that Sony has historically been pretty restrictive on DRM, and some people were saying that Microsoft expected them to be more restrictive, and so they said, well, if Sony's going to do that, then we have some leg room here. We can make some concessions that these publishers apparently want us to make. This is I don't have any like facts here. I'm just working from
right.
He's,
but that would be
he's
very.
reading.
I don't know. Like, I was going to say, where are you getting this stuff?
Very diabolical.
Yes.
Like Sony's like sending this false information. Yeah, we're going to do DRM.
No, but that's the word in the street.
Well,
So
I had
you
heard the
think
word.
Sony.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you think Sony? So that's your.
Well, obviously, I mean, so right now, this is how long do we have our last gen consoles out? And actually, I read an article that said, remember when the Wii U launched? The Wii launched. Everyone's like, this is going to be a failure. It looks like shit. The graphics are horrible. And then look what happened, right? So like or even the original.
You mean the Wii, not the Wii U? The
Sorry,
Wii U has actually been
the normal
not
Wii.
so hot.
The normal Wii, when it launched, everyone was like, "This is really weird." And also the PlayStation. When the PS3 launched, everyone thought it was a boat anchor, huge, massive. LOL, how big it is. Da 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 da. I mean that so.
Well, PlayStation
was.
3 it actually probably was in third place though.
It launched at like $600. So I mean,
Right,
It's doing okay
but
now.
but this is over time these things are going to change. This is an 8-year cycle, 10-year cycle.
they end up with an arguably better selection of exclusive titles compared to the 360.
Yeah, so I mean,
and a
it's
Blu-ray player integrated.
So you're saying Sony or Xbox or Microsoft? Who's your bet? Who are you betting is going to win this one? Who's going to come out on top? Because there will be no winners.
Well, what do we think that Microsoft is going to end up dropping the price?
Sony also has a penchant for making really horrible decisions.
Yeah, that's true. You can almost.
So does Microsoft though.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
you think about a company like Valve, or I mean, there's few companies out there where or like even Pixar, I guess, where you kind of you kind of trust them. You know what I mean? Like
No,
you
Cars 2 is bad. Sorry.
Cars 2 was bad, guaranteed. But I mean, in general, you're like, they haven't really screwed me in the past. They've made good decisions. They seem to be pretty trustworthy. But I would not put Sony or Microsoft in either one of those camps, though, just based on their past behavior.
They have made a lot of bad mistakes. They are so big. They have made a lot of mistakes.
And Sony doesn't seem to be diabolical, just kind of like bumbling, right?
So, but who's your pick? We have to get on record.
I'll go Sony.
So that
I'll go with Sony right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if Xbox One, because there's a lot of
what?
quote unquote.
What the hell kind of a? Ollie's going to win this unless Foreman wins. What?
Well, what'll be interesting.
What?
It'll be interesting to see if Xbox makes any changes from now until launch. They still have plenty of time to do that. So.
Yeah.
Well, and let's not forget that Microsoft is envisioning this going, a different future where this isn't just your game console. So we have
It's your TV. As
yeah,
know.
we have yet to see if that's really gonna stick.
So you're going to go Microsoft?
No,
Too early to tell.
I'm saying too early to tell.
Okay.
But it's not. I mean, they're not getting off to a good start.
Terrible stuff.
Way too early to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like asking
But
if NVIDIA's next-gen hardware will be successful.
It's
like,
fun to
who
predict
knows?
those sometimes.
Well, I know, but I will actually predict that Microsoft will win and Xbox will win in the end.
In the end, but what does
I guess
that
it
mean?
depends
Like-
on how you define a
What
victory.
about holiday?
I think in
season?
market share, frankly, in market share, Microsoft is probably going to win because I think the console gaming market it's clearly changed. These are probably going to be the last consoles we're going to ever see, possibly. But although what's very interesting about this is I know everybody assumes we're going to be stuck with these ancient consoles for 8 years, but frankly, they're PCs now. They could update these boxes in 2 years. Right, they can actually start updating these things every 2 days. They're just
Well,
using
gonna
commodity
happen.
Yeah,
parts.
the
You know
problem
it's
with
not
that
gonna
is that
happen,
the old
right.
games, there are compatibility issues.
Right.
Right.
They're PCs.
So,
Well, what's compatible? What do you mean?
so Gordon, you think as far as like the holiday sales go, you think Microsoft's going to have the lead?
I think Microsoft has really to somehow convince people that Xbox is not the DRM is not the horrible thing it is. Look, it's just like Steam. The parallel I think is like with Steam, where everybody was really upset with Steam. You buy a game on Steam, you can't give it away, you can't sell it. You're stuck with it, right? Forever. Games are really cheap. So if they can actually get this, basically bypass all the used market and everything, and instead of you paying $60 for a brand new game, paying $50 or $45, then
I don't think it's going to happen.
I know that's of course unlikely to happen, but
Yeah.
I also do think Xbox forcing everybody to take Kinect, which I think people will think is like the PS3 with Blu-ray, but I think Kinect actually has some upsides, especially this new Kinect camera. The resolution I think is crazy. There's really some next generation gaming, next generation media capabilities of Xbox that are beyond what Sony is capable of with PS4. I think very much we have PS4, which is old school, the way we've been making consoles for 20 years.
It's got a touchpad on the controller, though.
Oh, yeah, right, whatever. So it's the same thing. The PS4 is the same old thing, better hardware. Xbox is very much a next generation thing, embracing this totally the future of console gaming. It's interesting. The Xbox runs on a VM, so it runs on this lightweight hypervisor. It has a Windows 8 kernel, and then it has the Xbox OS. The Xbox OS has priority, but they're basically both running in virtual machine. So what I find interesting with that, it's kind of like why would you ever run it in a virtual machine? But it probably makes it very easy for them to leverage into other pieces of hardware, also into the cloud. So I think actually Xbox One is more forward looking. It's just whether Microsoft can overcome the typical horrible PR that they always run into.
Yeah, they had a. It's funny. When we were getting ready for the podcast, I guess I'll leave the person's name out of this. But they were like, I'll talk about Adam Orth's comments about this and that, and I was like, Adam Orth, that was like 2 months ago, right? And they were like, oh, well, who is the person who just did it again? And it was like Don Matrick, Xbox president. It's like there's so many of these just
gaffes.
Unbelievable gaffes.
What's this other gaff? What's the other gaff?
In his case, he wasn't like speaking out the cuff on Twitter. He was stuck with giving us the company line.
He actually was giving a filmed, televised interview with that guy Jeff Keighley.
That Game Trailers guy.
Yeah, I mean this is big time, on-camera interview, and they said, what do you think about people who? What do you say to people who say I'm not connected to the internet? And he said, don't buy an Xbox One. And it was like, and he goes, that's all your advice? That's all you can say? And he goes,
we have Xbox 360.
Well, he said, buy an Xbox 360.
If you don't have internet, buy an Xbox 360.
Buy an Xbox 360. Yeah. And I think his exact quote was, we have a product for those people. It's called Xbox 360. And then the host says, what if you have limited internet? And he says, well, yeah, I heard about that. I got a letter from a guy on a nuclear submarine. And the guy said, I don't have internet. And he said, I don't even know. He said, I don't know what it even means to be on a nuclear submarine. But I'm sure that if I was, I would also be disappointed.
He'd probably have a computer or a PS3.
It's like,
yeah.
It's easy to not really.
Get a PS4.
Anyways.
Yeah, I thought that was a little strange. Like, he has not heard of these things we have called nuclear submarines that are cruising in the ocean all day, where they have no internet.
No, he wasn't saying that. He was just.
Well, it's just kind of like.
I can't relate.
He was just taking an extreme example of.
Yeah.
But I think it's also sort of, shows that they're kind of oblivious to even people who have weak internet connections,
yeah, exactly.
which is like a lot of people.
Right. Well, maybe, of course, the thing we're talking about is the Xbox. Every 24 hours, the thing has to phone home, right?
It's the principle of the thing.
So what if they change that so it only phones home once a month or once every 4 weeks or 2 weeks, Is that something that would make people less pissed off?
Well, what happens if you don't have internet? Then you're kind of screwed. Doesn't matter if they change that.
Well, I mean it is kind of and let's channel Adam Orth here, but really, you have no internet ever.
I think
you're in your motorhome. You can't cruise into
McDonald's. If you're on like a
McDonald's.
56K modem,
in our ivory tower.
Well, it doesn't. I don't think it's. I don't think you're downloading everything, but it's still. Let's face it. It's checking to make sure you're not pirating everything.
Sometimes
right?
people like us underestimate the aptitude required to connect your console to the internet, especially over a wireless connection.
Microsoft's position, I guarantee you, they would never say this, but I guarantee you their position is if that internet access is that hard for you, we don't really want you as a customer.
Right.
We really don't want you as a customer.
I suppose I can understand that because it's hard to believe somebody would have no internet access. Limited, slow, yeah, I think we all understand that, but like no internet access,
Those are people living out in the sticks and stuff. And the model Microsoft wants to set up is kind of like
South San Francisco, yes.
Kind of like Amazon Prime or anything else, where they have your credit card, they have your account ready, and you're just like buying. You're just buying movies. You're buying, DLC. You're just constantly sort of buying shit through your Xbox.
Yeah, what really gets me is if you want to watch Netflix on the Xbox One, you have to have internet.
Well, that's obvious.
What's up with that?
You have to have the gold subscription to watch Netflix.
You also have to pay.
Okay, now that of course, but you know what?
PlayStation, you don't have to do that.
Sorry for the silence. I couldn't tell if you're making a joke or not.
He was
what are you talking
sarcastic.
about?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying, what I'm saying is...
But you bring up a good point, because the whole Netflix, like needing a subscription for Netflix.
Right.
Is
People don't. Right. People are like, oh, yeah, we're perfectly fine. Well, I love Netflix because I can tell the cable company to go, jump off a cliff, right?
Then meanwhile, the PS4 is like, they'll be charging for multiplayer now. but they won't be charging for you to watch Netflix on your PS4.
Oh, so they're gonna charge you for
They're charging for
multiplayer now.
multiplayer
Yeah.
now.
So that free ride is over for,
yes, that particular
Well, it's probably
free
going to be
ride,
more
yeah.
substantial now
which
too.
is the only thing that matters,
They're
right?
probably taking a loss on it at this point with the PS3. So.
You know, I think the interesting thing is you point out, Xbox, which surprised me, is you have to pay for the membership to get all this stuff, all the online stuff, basically just to hook the damn thing up to the internet, right?
Yeah.
But people haven't cared. I mean, the Xbox has been kicking everybody's butt for how long now? So
Oh.
people have done it all day, and they paid for it, Xbox Live all day.
But what I was saying earlier about hooking up your console to the internet, a lot of the times when you get your Comcast, your Time Warner cable, a technician comes to your house and does all that themselves. And if you're not like apt for plugging all that stuff in, then you have to go to those technicians to get everything hooked up. And sometimes you just like you don't know how all that stuff gets hooked together. You know?
I'm not. Oh, you're saying well, it is wireless. This thing is wireless.
Right, but I'm saying that we were talking earlier about how if connecting your console to the internet and how
So you're saying you might even have like internet might be a possibility, but it's just
Right.
not easy for everyone to get
yeah
it.
we
connected.
underestimate how many people need a technician to do all that stuff for them.
I have a hard time believing people can still have a problem hooking something up to wireless internet at this point.
I think
You know,
my
No,
mom,
dude.
my
no,
mom
no, no.
would
Yeah,
have a
if-
problem.
It's
Yeah.
still hard.
But that's a different audience. Your mom's a different
yeah.
audience.
If you're
Yeah,
in a-
somehow I don't
That's
think your mom
If
is going to
you're-
be getting on
Although
her
this is
Xbox
supposed
to play
be,
Halo.
but
and
Xbox One is supposed to be the every person's living room
That's true.
device. So
If you're in an apartment building, you're dealing with probably like a dozen different wireless networks and encryption passwords and whatnot.
I think people are underestimating people. And frankly, I mean, if there are people who don't know how to hook something up to wireless at this point, are they going to be going out and buying all these games? Are
Well,
they
like-
really your customer?
or
you know?
well, like Josh said, maybe that's not really who Microsoft is interested in.
They're after they basically want to get rid of all physical media and have just online only all the time, just like with Steam.
Sure. And, one of their engineers was, I don't know where that was, but he was arguing that, yes, we can use this to cut the price of games, right? Because
Yeah,
there's
but
basically this middleman that they can
that's not
cut
going to
out.
happen because
Yeah,
they already offer a download store on the Xbox
Right.
360, and the prices are the same.
Right.
And the thing is, though, is that as much as we all want to, as much as we'd all be like, well, just get rid of the disc media. In that guy's article, he was like, well, the people we're fighting on this are called Walmart,
Yeah,
Amazon,
yeah.
who else? All the other retailers.
All the retailers.
I mean, it's like
Best
this
Buy.
massive juggernaut of that. It's like, no, this is our business. You're gonna take all this business away from us, Microsoft, and just go straight from you to the customer? No way.
Sure. Same. I mean, frankly, those very, very large retailers, the same thing. They can say, like, look, we don't want you charging half price for these games. You need to charge full retail price in your online versions because we're going to be selling them online for that price.
Right.
Yep. Walmart sells a crap load of games.
Right.
A crap load of the percentage as well.
For sure. All right. Well, any last thoughts?
Sony, maybe, don't know. Josh, actually,
Sony.
you're saying you're going to say the winner is going to win.
Nintendo.
I will also say the
I'm
winner is
saying
going to win as
Xbox,
well.
Microsoft.
Wait, who won the last round? Actually, you know what? Let's just move on.
I'm gonna go with the
That's too much
Booyah.
console talk even
Yeah.
for me. All right. So, have you guys heard of Ivy Bridge E? Of course you have. It's the successor to Ivy Bridge.
And before Ivy Bridge F.
Supposed to be coming out pretty soon.
It's really an Iron Bridge.
And now, so Ivy Bridge E has been pretty cool, but now we've heard talk already of Haswell-E, which we hadn't even really discussed at all.
Yeah.
So a bunch of news broke this weekend about Haswell-E. Gordon's going to fill us in on that.
So basically, VR Zone, I think, was the latest info drop. There's always leaks all the time. It's been kind of percolating out there, but I mean, the part is so far out there. I mean, we're talking maybe next year, luckily.
A little more than a year from now.
Right, so it's a year from now probably, and basically it is the big boy version of Haswell. So right now we have Ivy Bridge. We're about to come out with Ivy Bridge E, which is Ivy Bridge cores shoved into LGA 2011, the big boy socket. The same thing will happen next year with Haswell-E, which the cool thing, according to VR Zone, we want to properly credit them because they're the ones that had all the slides. They're saying that there will be no 4-core, quad-core Haswell-E's. The parts will only be 6-core and, for the first time, 8-core desktop parts.
Is it still going to be 2011?
It will be, incredibly, if I understand this right, it will be LGA 2011-3. which is incompatible, if I understand it, with LGA 2011.
Wow.
It's possible. I mean, they're keyed differently, but for all we know, maybe the socket works that way.
A huge shock, though.
Yeah, I know. I mean, frankly, I don't mind, getting rid of 2011 because a year from now, you still got a severely limited PCH. It's only got 2 SATA 6 ports. The USB 3 support isn't native. It's a very, very old chipset. So honestly, I wouldn't kill me if people had to buy new motherboards for Haswell-E next year.
Wait,
it's not a bad idea.
So if you had a Haswell motherboard, though, you'd need another new motherboard.
Oh well, if you have a current Haswell LGA 1150, which we talked about last time, and it's been out for about 4 weeks now.
Yeah,
that is still the mainstream slash mid-range enthusiast part, right? LGA 1150 incompatible with LGA 2011, which has been out since Sandy Bridge E came out. Good Lord, over a year ago. And so now we're talking end of the summer. We're probably going to get Ivy Bridge E, which will be Ivy Bridge in the same socket. You'll get one upgrade next year. To go to Haswell-E, if you want to stick with the big boy socket, you're going to have to probably buy a new motherboard. You're going to get quad channel RAM support, but also the option of DDR4. So there'll be DDR3 and DDR4 versions apparently.
Just to clarify for people out there, what exactly do you mean by the big boy socket?
Well, all these are Xeons, right? So these are the Xeon parts that Intel sells. They put them in the servers. They put them in the workstations. They erase the Xeon print. They put on Core i7. They throw a few switches. It's suddenly an unlocked part, and it is a consumer part. I say big boy because, these are, if you want a lot of cores, you can only get it in LGA 2011.
And PCI Express lanes.
Yeah. So you can get 40s. Similarly, there'll be 40 PCIe 3 express lanes in the chip. Quad channel RAM support in the chip, of course, and the controller.
So this
and a new PCH with I think 8 SATA 6 ports.
And there's also a process shrink, isn't there? From 30
for the chipset?
Yeah. Oh, no, for Ivy Bridge E.
No, Ivy Bridge is still 22.
Still 22.
I thought Sandy Bridge E was
14.
22, and then Haswell is still 22.
Okay. I was talking about Sandy Bridge E's 32, right?
Oh gosh.
And then
it's been such a while. I believe
28 probably.
No. It's either.
I'm thinking of GPUs.
I thought Westmere was 32. Yeah, that is very interesting. I think it is actually. Yes, it is 32.
Okay, and then I thought
Ivy Bridge will be.
I thought Ivy
22
Bridge,
nanometer.
Yeah.
3D cores.
Yeah.
And some people saw the quotes. And then Haswell-E will also be on the same 3D.
What do you mean by 3D cores?
They're on the 3D. It's on the 3D transistors.
They're stacking them in 3 dimensions.
You have to wear NVIDIA 3D vision.
There's also, I think there's also part of the slide that said all Haswell-E CPUs will be K part unlocked.
Yeah, all unlocked apparently, which is interesting.
Sounds like it's gonna be pretty badass. One of their slides there showed overclocking tools for overclockers. Like it seemed directly targeted at like hardcore PC gamers. It was pretty badass.
Yeah, it's actually kind of nice.
In that case, is there any point in someone adopting 2011 now? Like I can see upgrading to Ivy Bridge E, but like would you?
Haswell?
No, like if you're currently on 2011, then that's a good upgrade.
Right, so you get your chip upgrade with Ivy Bridge.
But there's no point in adopting 2011.
Well, there is. If you currently have say a Core 2 Duo, right, or an Athlon 64, something old, you want something new. You either do Haswell 1150 part, limit shooter, quad cores. If you really do need something for work, you need a lot more threads, a lot more cores, 6 with options for 8 using Xeon parts. Then it is worth paying for LGA 2011 because it is really, really a lot faster to get all those cores. Throwing them at say video encoding or 3D modeling. If you really do use it for work, then it's worth it. For a lot of people, Haswell is perfectly good.
And then those PCI Express lanes probably come in handy if you have 3 to 4 video cards, which is kind of a niche thing, but that's where we are.
Yeah.
So when next year are we looking at Haswell?
I imagine probably same time. It's interesting because Intel's the reason why people are like, what? So we finally get Ivy Bridge E later this year, and then it'll be like, damn, we've had Ivy Bridge out. Ivy Bridge is just being transitioned out on the desktop, on mainstream desktops, and then now you get it on 2011. It's like, man, that's so late. But they move at different cadences. So the Xeon guys move slower. The things aren't lined up. I think they'd really like it if they could roll out, 2011 Haswell 1150 and Haswell 2011 at the same time, but they're just doesn't line up.
AMD also is not competing in that space, so they don't have a strong incentive to keep coming out with stuff at a steady clip.
Right, and actually that's the nice thing that, obviously this is stuff leaked, so we don't know if it's real or not. I do hope it's real because it does show that Intel still gives a damn about enthusiast computing, because frankly it's been looking pretty dismal, right? Because people are like, damn, really, the only thing people care about are smartphones and tablets. If you even lose Intel's attention and they don't care about the high-end enthusiasts, where are you gonna turn to? Even AMD is like, we're gonna take an existing part, overclock the hell out of it, bin it out, sell it only to OEMs. If that's all you're going to get as enthusiasts, it's going to be pretty boring for a long time. So this is actually a good sign if it's actually true.
What if we could pick it in front of Intel's headquarters, where if they just stopped making enthusiast processors, we could somehow make a human shield? I don't know, something.
You go there and chain yourself to the doors.
Right.
Do a hunger strike.
Although, I will say this is interesting. This segues into the next thing. They've already outed Ivory Bridge E, right? So we already know Ivory Bridge E has been coming, but there will be a 12-core Xeon Ivory Bridge part later this year. You know how I know this?
How?
Because, actually, and I haven't really quite figured this out yet, that it'll also have Thunderbolt 2 support.
And what's Thunderbolt 2 as opposed to Thunderbolt 1?
Well, actually, the weird thing about Thunderbolt 2 is apparently it's actually the same bandwidth. So right now, Thunderbolt 1 is 2 10-gig, pipelines.
Right.
But they've always said instead of saying it's 20 gigs, they've said it's 10 gigs. Now they're saying, Thunderbolt 2 is a 20 gig lane. So somehow they're relabeling it or something. I don't know. But we know this because somebody just announced a new
Mac Pro. Somebody.
All right. So
Frappuccino maker.
So we have a perfect segue here. Now, normally I don't really like to. We wouldn't be sitting here talking about the new iPod or the new whatever. People on our Facebook have been complaining about Apple stories. Look, we're only covering this stuff because it's interesting. Because basically, everyone thought that Apple had basically ditched their pro audience and said, "Screw you," we're going mobile. And I believe, we were even Gordon was even talking to some developers, and I've talked to some people too who have workstation type environments, and they were all running iMacs. These people have been left in the cold.
Yeah,
for a long, long time. So anyways, everyone thought they were kind of done with it, and then Steve Jobs, I think, promised something a while ago, and then blah, blah, blah. So anyways, WWDC. Well, I thought Steve Jobs did too, but yeah, Tim
Cook said this year. Okay,
so Cook said this year. So anyways, the big show came, and sure enough, they revealed this brand new PC that is not even when you look at it, it looks like a black brushed aluminum trash can. It's small. It's 9.9 inches tall, 6 inches wide, circular. Right. So, what's interesting about it is the form factor. They basically completely ditched the idea of having a motherboard and sort of expansion cards, and the whole form factor has been completely changed. That's pretty interesting. The bummer part about it is that basically they've opted for a completely external expansion. So, if you want more RAM, or you want a new GPU, or you want a different CPU, or you want a different anything, there's not really any way to touch the insides of this thing, from what we can tell so far. But there's a couple things interesting about it, and I just want to get your guys' opinion on it. So what's interesting is they basically took the form factor of a motherboard with components on it that are all separate, individually cooled, and basically took all those components, glued them to a extruded aluminum heatsink, and let them all share, and then put a fan on the top of it that sucks air from the bottom all the way through the top. Lets it cool.
Yeah, so this is a picture. I'm going to show the camera first.
So it does look like what it.
So every individual component. So
it sounds like a Dalek.
So instead of having a GPU where you have it in a PCI card, as an example, and you have an individual cooler on the GPU, the actual GPU itself is literally just the GPU itself is just stuck onto, is basically attached via a heatsink or a what do you call it, like a heat transmitter to this extruded heatsink, which is called their thermal core. It's interesting. It's an interesting design. So, anyways, the specs are basically 12-core Xeon, quote unquote, which I guess is Ivy Bridge E.
Right.
12-core Xeon, ECC RAM, two Fire Pro GPUs, workstation GPUs from AMD.
Yes.
What kind of storage?
You haven't seen it yet?
PCIe.
So this is what the cover looks like.
It looks like a subwoofer.
Yeah, it looks like a subwoofer.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. No, actually, a cozy. Looks good. Looks like a beer cozy with some plugs on it.
I think I saw somebody compare it to a
It's a very nice looking beer cozy though.
It looks like a trash can.
Oh,
so they had
and it's got this feature like it has a motion detector, so when you move your hands in front of the I/O ports, they light up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So it has dual GPUs. The actual storage SSD is just it's a PCIe based SSD, so it's like 1.4 giga.
But there's no
gigabyte.
PCIe expansion slots though, right?
No. So the entire thing, so all the expansion is all external. So if you want to add storage, you're gonna have to buy some sort of Thunderbolt drive bay
From Apple?
I think let's see, and other vendors will be selling them. It's going to be expensive. I mean, that's an expensive way to upgrade your computer. But anyways,
I like the aluminum look, but it looks highly proprietary.
Yeah, that's the issue for me. Is like the only thing that's not proprietary on there are the USB ports and the power cable. I think.
I mean, does that surprise you that it's so proprietary though?
For Apple, this is sort of like, man, this is. I mean, but I suppose their audience, because people sort of trapped behind the DMZ and Apple land. I mean, they never seem to want to leave, but I sort of imagine that the people who ran the G5s and the Mac Pros, they liked being able to, I'll just go and buy an off-the-shelf hard drive or SSD or video card.
Trash can analogy now.
And run that. But with this thing, is like, man, you've got to pay a massive premium, because it's like, even if you even think about it, it's like, even Mac people can upgrade their video cards, right? They can buy. I mean, they tried to do it here. They tried to put some NVIDIA cards and some ancient Mac Pros that they had here to improve their Premiere Pro renders.
What's your prediction? Is this gonna be?
I would normally say I just can't imagine anybody in a professional environment really accepting this high amount of proprietary hardware. But people that are sort of there,
I think if you're like rich or something like this would be fantastic for you, right?
If you're deeply invested in Final Cut Pro or some other Mac exclusive media creation tool.
How much can those pros tolerate, though?
Oh, well, I don't think most of those guys don't even like tinker around with hardware, do they?
No, but I mean, how much?
That's what I was trying to tell Gordon earlier. Is these workstations are purchased, used for several years, and just discarded. They're not like they're not upgraded a lot.
They are somewhat. I mean, they are slightly.
Some are for sure.
But I mean, I'm not even sure where Apple is going with Final Cut. Right? People were really pissed off with that last Final Cut Pro release. People are, a lot of people have actually jumped ship to Premiere. A lot of people really question whether Apple even cares anymore. And that machine tells me that they're just going to continue down that road of just seeing how much abuse their users will take.
I mean, this is better than nothing, though. I mean, it's...
But
it also has dual GPUs, like...
Yeah, but I mean...
7970 maybe.
But why... I mean, there's...
Fire Pros.
There's a reason why you have industry standards, is to make things cheaper and be compatible. This thing is not compatible with anything. So what... So people are just going to pay this massive price premium? How would you ever update?
Wait. You're talking about an Apple product, and you're wondering out loud if people are going to pay it.
That's my question, though. Is how much abuse will those users
take? Are they
take?
pushing
it doesn't.
it
I'm not trying to get this into an Apple debate of whether or not it's a piece of shit or we love it or whatever. Just the design of it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, and would you if the PC makers were like, hey, we have a thermal core too. Look at this. I mean, I think the PC makers PC audience would absolutely reject it. Absolutely.
It has happened. That's why it's been rejected over and over. Voodoo tried it. Hardcore PC, every single proprietary design. Packard Bell did it way back when, and they all PC users have always rejected proprietary parts. It's built into PC DNA to be open.
Yeah,
well, it worked for Dell for a few years.
This is kind of the difference between PCs and Macs in the first place.
Even Dell Power Supplies went. Remember, they said they had a better design over the ATX. They actually went back to an industry standard on that. Even Dell, for the most part, is they're industry standard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to have to move on to customer questions now. We've got a lot of them. You want to do like
reader questions?
Customer questions.
We got a customer on line too. He's really pissed.
Technically, they are kind of a
can't get my
too.
subscription. Where do I?
That does happen. I get emails all the time.
All right, let's do lightning round. How about that? Like lightning, we'll just do really fast. All right, here we go. Number 1, Fabian Abrego. Do you think the 760 GTX, I'm assuming, will outperform the 670 while being cheaper? I can answer that. We don't know because the 760 hasn't been launched yet. Number 2, Michael Keenan. Why haven't you guys done a water cooling guide yet?
We did do one. Didn't we? It's been like a year and a half, I think.
Because it's liquid cooling.
All right. Ryan Stoddard asks, what's the best way to use an Android tablet as a PC monitor?
Whoa.
You need to have an HDMI connection.
Way too slow.
Yeah.
What the refresh rate on the
Well, if he wants to use his monitor, because the only thing I can think of is doing like a remote session and then painting your screen on your Android tablet. Because they don't do HDMI in, they do HDMI out that I know of. It'd be kind of cool if you could use them as HDMI panels.
Ben
Which,
Fisher.
actually, that's not a bad idea.
There's probably an app out there somewhere that does it.
No, I don't think it would be. The plumbing would be set up that way. But I've seen like a monitor that had Android built into it, worked as a monitor.
Asus one.
If every tablet worked as a standalone monitor, that'd be pretty cool.
All right. Ben Fisher asks 4, 8, or 16 gigs of RAM for gaming.
8.
Yeah.
Very few games will see more than 4 gigs of RAM.
Or 4.
My home system, I have 16 gigs, and I started freaking out last week for just like I was staring at my web browser and it just locked up and then rebooted. And I took out 2 sticks just to test it, and now I'm running it on 8 gigs, and it seems to be totally fine. I have not had any issues at all. So, all right. Zed Panis asks, why did Microsoft think the Windows 8 interface was an improvement to Windows 7?
You have to ask them.
Too long to answer. Is SLI or Crossfire a better option than upgrading to the newest and best, especially for the value?
I think it is actually for some people.
Depends on your budget.
You will usually get a better deal of just buying a second. Usually by the time, if you buy one card like a 560 Ti and then you wait a year and a half or whatever, by the time the 670s are out, that 560, another one will be pretty cheap. Right. And same goes.
But what about the complications of SLI or Crossfire?
Age-old debate.
Well, it's like I had a reader. He just built up a tri-SLI system because he got these 580s cheap on eBay. He's like, should I buy a single 670 or 780? And I said no. I said the 580s would be faster, but
you need a huge PSU,
1,000-watt power supply, and you need massive fans.
Tons of noise.
Right. But it's going to be faster, I think, in the most games.
But if you have a 1080p monitor, then you should probably sell 2 of those 580s anyway.
Yeah.
You know.
Christian Philo asks, does the resale value of ASUS motherboards will it go up with the price of gold?
They're not actually gold heatsinks. They're gold-colored heatsinks.
It's a joke. The new ASUS's livery for its Haswell boards is all black and gold. People are having some fun with that, including us. It's pretty funny. The boards actually look kind of nice. I mean, it's a fine line when you're looking at black and gold between cheese ball and like luxury.
It sort of depends on how you do the rest of the system. Yeah, it's a acquired taste, I think.
Rudy Callenbang asks, what is it will comes? These people don't always what. Yeah, basically saying when will the Radeon 8000 series come out? We don't really know.
No.
Man of Steel, yes or meh?
Meh. I just saw it this week.
I haven't seen it yet.
I don't care.
All right. Dan Hansen says, why doesn't my Diamond 56K Supersonic 2 give me 112 bit speed? Okay, he's making a joke.
Because nobody supports them anymore.
All right. Alex Kutadine says, given the hardware specs that you know and adding the standard Apple tax, what do you think the retail price will be for the new Apple Mac Pros?
Take a reasonable number and add about 40-50%.
That's going to be like
fully kitted out, as the English say.
$7,800.
I was going to say 8,000. That's about right, I think.
Yeah, I'd probably say around there too.
Yeah.
All right. Matt Carney says, with Intel focusing on graphics with Haswell, do you foresee them improving their driver support? It seems like Intel currently only optimizes for benchmarks and not real games.
Well, they're optimizing more for mobile than they are for graphics necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, Intel's drivers are like a perpetual joke in the industry. So I don't know if they're really ever going to get better, because every time they say they're going to get better, it really doesn't get that much better. So,
Stefan Szynski says, closed loop water cooling or a good heatsink fan combo? Ford.
It depends on for what.
Kind of a Ford Chevy.
CPU.
You know, those there you can get you can buy that. We talked about it 10 million times, but that Cooler Master Hyper 212 will get you 90% of the way to what a good closed loop cooling system will do for $30 bolted on in 2 minutes.
And it doesn't occupy a case fan slot.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's quiet.
Yeah,
I
actually
really easy to install too. At least the 212 Evo is.
When I upgraded to Ivy Bridge, I got a Hyper 212, took it home, and I started overclocking, and I got up to like 4.3, and I could not run Prime 95. It would just lock and like reboot, and I basically reached this limit of like 4.3 or 4.2 or something like that. Like it wasn't, the processor was getting like insanely hot, like 80 whatever, and totally quiet, but also in the 80s. So I ended up getting a Corsair H100i, and then now I can run it at 4.4 no problem. So that was like, but that's sort of where you'll see the difference. If you're not overclocking or not going too high with it, you can run the 212 no problem at all, or any sort of stock heatsink like that, or not stock, but you know what I mean. Big heatsink, save you a lot of time, save you a lot of money too. All right, what's the link to listen to the podcast? All right, you'll see that when we post this. What is better, gaming headset or a nice set of headphones and a microphone?
I'm gonna go with headset. I'm gonna go with headphones and a microphone.
Well, you're gonna go with the latter?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the gaming headset because I think it's more convenient that way. You don't have to worry
It's
about
more
position.
convenient.
You have to be I think you have to be a pretty hardcore audiophile to want a separate microphone, and separate headset.
You can get some
headphones.
really nice headphones for like $80 to $100 that will be better than any headset you can buy.
Really?
Well, just about.
I think it depends on what you have. If you have onboard audio, USB-based headset, because the audio will be better than your generally crappy onboard motherboard audio. If you are running an actual sound card, you will get better audio out of an actual analog headset. Although I don't think I'd want to look like Casey Kasem sitting in front of my machine with a mic.
Yeah, I think that this is just a little bit too much.
Yeah,
I don't like these stands because we're actually on our laptops. So when you have a laptop, it's really inconvenient to have this huge microphone stand right in front of you. I'd rather just have it boom, be a boom.
You can get like a $20 boom mic that's like...
Can you even get those anymore? I mean, those are
you can get them.
I think they buried all those with the ET cartridges.
I mean, you don't want to use them for something like this, our fancy podcast, but for something like multiplayer gaming, you don't need anything this fancy.
I was actually thinking that we should have headsets for this podcast because like setting this stuff up is just too much sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, we use this big board. I'm not sure if it's possible.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, did you ever get Daniel Hill says, did you ever figure out what that weird error message was? I got this crazy error message on the computer last week. I posted it on Facebook. It looks like alien like hieroglyphics. I think it was a failing or dying video card that gave me that error. I had a board last week that just met a young demise, unfortunately.
Yeah, the other issue is that motherboard has gone through a lot of abuse. I mean, PCIe slots are not made for the amount of insertion cycles we put them through for video cards, and that thing's probably gone through like 400. So the slot could just be worn out.
The system that we use for GPU testing has been, it's been rode hard and put away wet, so to speak. So we're actually right now we're actually rebuilding it with Windows 8 and everything, kind of starting over again, kind of giving it a fresh start. So.
Yeah.
Poor little guy is hanging in there. It's our ultra configuration. If you ever look at our blueprints in the back of the magazine, it's the PX79 motherboard, tough power 1050 watt power supply, 3960X CPU. It's the highest end system we have in the lab. And it's just been, anyways. Lately, a lot of systems on have been freaking out. All right, Mo Vladimirovich asks, who doesn't love Gordon?
I don't know. I think there's plenty of people.
Are we supposed to answer?
There's too many people to list. We'll just move on.
No comments.
Yeah.
Robert Greisenmeyer asks, best current ZA7 board that has availability. I don't know if we even know what's available.
We've been so busy with so much hardware, I haven't even done the board reviews. But honestly, I think frankly, for a lot of you're not seeing a huge performance difference between these boards. I mean, the memory controllers and the CPU. The only thing you have on these things is the PCH. So it really comes down to picking the accessories you want, how many USB ports you want, or if you want Thunderbolt, blah, 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 blah. But, honestly, it's pretty hard to lose if you're, with a $200 Asus or Gigabyte board at this point. I haven't seen the new MSI board. That's probably also nice, too.
Yeah, they all look pretty good, actually. We've seen the pictures of this round of boards from Gigabyte, MSI, and the rest of them. They all look pretty nice. I mean, they're all up in their game for sure. It's getting super competitive, it looks like.
But the best thing is all SATA 6 ports. I mean, that's just been the suckiest thing about Intel for the last few years.
Josh Vargas asked, what games are you looking forward to this year?
Battlefield 4.
Yeah, I'll say Battlefield 4.
Yeah, I played that at E3.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I did. There were lines for like 3 hours, but I didn't have to wait. It was awesome.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it was. I didn't really play that much of Battlefield 3, but I'm pretty sure there weren't any like the flight suits in Battlefield 3, right? Like little gliding suits with the little wings on them.
Seriously, they have those?
They had those in Battlefield 4, and I was playing this multiplayer level with like 20 other people, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I was like following these guys, and then these two guys opened up this elevator, and then we climbed up to like the 60th floor or something. And then the guy, looks outside the window. He just blasts the window open, right, so the glass shatters. Then all of a sudden, I see him jump out. I'm like, oh shit, he just committed suicide. Then I like look down and I just see him like flying through the air. I was like, what the hell? So I did it too, and then
So they're like flying squirrel. There's a flying squirrel mode now.
yes,
Right. Huh.
yes.
But you always had this like parachute mode, which is just like, oh, okay, come on.
That thing would kill me all the time, though.
yeah.
The parachute? Yeah, I could never
Parachute.
figure it out.
Yeah, they actually released a trailer for BF4 and posted it to our Facebook also that shows a bunch of gameplay, and like the environmental destruction on that game looks totally awesome. I mean, it looks about it's as close to as real. I mean, when you shoot something, if you think it's going to be destroyed, it'll probably be destroyed. It's pretty close.
Yeah, like I don't play that much Battlefield, so I was like hiding behind this like building, and then the guy was like driving a tank or something. He's like, okay, I'll just shoot the building, and then he just basically blows me up too.
Right.
So.
Which
Yeah.
that sort of happens now.
They showed that in the trailer. They showed this guy sort of go upstairs. He was in a parking underground structure. He went upstairs to the street level and saw a tank like rolling towards their position. So he went back downstairs, waited about 10 seconds, and then he shot a grenade out of his like the under tube on his gun at the support pier, and the entire roof collapsed, and the tank was right there. And then they went up and C4'd the tank.
Nice.
It was like
Wow.
it was pretty like holy
Pretty
shit.
unrealistic that you would ever get that kind of team play in Battlefield.
Yeah, exactly. All right. David Halsey says, no questions. Just glad to see you guys podcasting again. Thank you. Adam Davis says, do you think Intel will push to compete with AMD on the GPU front with this Iris graphics series? Richland,
versus-
we just tested those.
Yeah, I think they're probably, at this point, they're probably 5200, 5200 Pro are probably faster. I mean, I can almost definitely say that it is faster in some things than AMD's fastest APU, but at the same time, I don't think they're cheaper than AMD's fastest APU.
AMD also has some more APUs in the pipeline based on, I think it was Kaveri,
Sure.
which uses a different tier of video cards than the newer tier. So that'll be an upgrade. So there's probably going to be some back and forth on that front. The question is, like, will Intel be securing lots of contracts for AIOs versus AMD, or will AMD get locked out again? It's happened in the past.
All right. What says here, what do you think of the new game Titanfall? How would I listen to the podcast? This is Michael LaRue. We'll post a link on our Facebook and on our website, Michael, when it comes out. Titanfall, I didn't see it myself. I know it was ordered best FPS by Games Radar, I think.
I saw it like at the press conferences. I didn't actually get a chance to play it, but it's from the original developers behind Call of Duty Modern Warfare, who actually left Infinity Ward because of some sort of legal dispute.
Interesting.
And it's like Call of Duty meets the future plus mechs. So you can run around like on your foot and just, as a foot soldier, or you can like decide to hop in these large scale mechs, and they kind of have their trade-offs. So like the mechs aren't necessarily better, and it looks really good.
Speaking of the future, that Wolfenstein game is looking pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, I didn't actually see too much of that.
I don't know who the developer is though offhand, but I like the idea of what if the Nazis like won World War II. How would that affect like the modern day, and how would that affect the future? I like the what if stuff.
Yeah, it looks like
As
Bethesda's publishing it. I don't know who's
All
developing
right.
it.
Last question here says, will there be any new giveaways soon? I'm sure you guys have plenty of things lying around. People ask us all the time. Actually, I get private messages on Facebook all the time saying, "Hey, what do you guys do with all your used gear?" And da da da. So we usually keep on to to answer your question. Yes, there is. We have one new giveaway hopefully this week. Should be up by the time hopefully it's up by the time you hear this. If not, it's for a crucial SSD and a 3-year license to IO Low System Mechanic. It's in the works. It's ready to deploy. We just have to get it up. And then we're also gonna have a very special giveaway pretty soon. We've been talking about it for a while, I know, but it's coming. And we do have a lot of things lying around, but we can't give them away to people. There's tax issues involved. We also need to keep things here in case we need to use them in future builds. I'm telling Gordon this all the time.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff that we're not allowed to give away to anybody by the vendor or NVIDIA, AMD. Like, yeah, you can borrow those. We need those back though when you're done.
Yeah.
So we send a lot of stuff back.
Send stuff back, hold on to it, or we just, that's basically it.
Oh, it is interesting too. I'll bring up something that happened maybe 3 years ago. Actually, only about 2 years ago, where so Intel samples, pre-release CPUs, motherboards to the media for people to review. You get this kit, CPU, motherboard, heatsink, sometimes RAM, even an SSD. you basically sit on this thing, like we keep ours in the lab for testing. Well, somebody at some point decided, hey, I've got this ancient old, LGA 1366 Nehalem. No one's going to want this. I'm going to sell this press kit, this, year and a half old press kit on eBay. Well, Intel immediately sends out an email to everybody. So we know somebody is trying to sell a press kit. Reminder, all of these press kits are the property of Intel and may be recalled at any time. You are not allowed to resell these products. So they went after somebody trying to sell the 2-year-old processor. So
they don't put any kind of identifying mark on them so that they know.
They might, but I think they'd have to buy. What happened was that I think the person withdrew their withdrew the eBay auction item.
Right.
So
usually the motherboards have a little tramp stamp between the PCIe slots.
That actually happened way back when in the ATI days, where there was a video card. It got leaked out to a press site, and there was a picture of this unknown ATI card, actually ATI before AMD bought them, and apparently ATI has internal tracking. They had put marks on this video card so they could tell whose card it was. There's only 50 of them.
Oops.
This is number 49. Who was 49? And apparently this is told to me by somebody who was told so. Who knows? This could all be made up.
Urban legend.
Urban legend, but I actually do believe it's true. It turned out it was the president, then ATI's president's son, who had the card, who then leaked it to a press site.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last one from Twitter. This is Michael McLaughlin. Says Haswell has new PSU requirements. How do I properly find one that takes advantages of the power savings? I haven't heard of that.
Oh, the ultra low voltage state, the C67.
Yeah, I don't think you don't need a special power supply.
Not for desktops. You can just turn that off in the BIOS and won't really make
Yeah,
much difference.
it's probably. I mean, any Z87 board, I'm going to imagine, is in there. A lot of this is made to meet all these really hardcore power requirements of the Europeans, because it used to be, you see this on even the Z77 boards where, I think the Europeans, they don't allow you. You have to have less than 1 watt of power when the thing is in standby, and a lot of boards were like 3 watts.
Yeah.
So they had to turn off like USB, wake from USB, and all kinds of sleep modes. So, and I would imagine any new modern motherboard will support it. I really wouldn't worry about the PSU that I know of.
All right, let's move on quickly to our editor picks. That's all the time we have for questions. Thank you guys for sending them in. I couldn't actually check Gmail this time due to a password malfunction. So sorry about that, guys. We did get all of Twitter and all of Facebook handled, so thanks for sending the questions in. Let's start with Jimmy.
I just started playing BioShock Infinite again, and I'm liking that a lot, so I'm going to recommend that. I think the game is really underrated for its graphics. Like, I really like its art style.
It has nice art style.
And its world and its colors.
We never even talked about that game.
Yeah.
What happens we were like, we'll talk about that next month, and by the time the month goes around, we have new hardware and blah, blah, blah.
Did you guys both beat that?
I think the game would just come out, and we were like, well, if we talk about it now, we're going to spoil everything for the people who haven't bought it yet.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good.
I'm only like halfway in, so.
It's
Game of the year so far, you think? Or?
It was definitely one of the most interesting games I've played. I mean, the way it starts out, you're kind of walking around like, this is mildly interesting, and then you're kind of like, when's, am I gonna get? Is there something gonna happen? And then when that point occurs, you're like, holy shit! Like, it's pretty amazing.
Okay, I don't think I'm quite there yet, but
you're halfway through the game.
I'm a little after finding the girl.
Oh yeah, I'm just talking about the first part where you actually start killing those people.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You're like, that part is crazy.
That gets a little intense.
You go from just innocent bystander in this game to like mass murderer in like 2 seconds. Right. It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah. All right, go for it, Tom.
My pick is a game called Dishonored. It's actually been out for a while, but I just got it recently on a sale on Steam for like $20. Sort of a stealth action game. I like the gameplay has a nice flow to it. I like the art style. Has an interesting story. Also has a sort of a novel setting. It's sort of this mid 1800s sort of thing, but it's set like on an alternate planet where magic is like real. So there's a crossover with fantasy and old timey sort of stuff. Not really steampunky because there isn't a lot of steam involved, or petroleum for that matter. All their power is based on whale oil. So the really, really interesting universe. It's developed by Arcane Studios, who also did Dark Messiah, Might and Magic, and are rumored to be working on Prey 2 right now. So
that hopefully won't suck as much as Prey 1.
Yeah, no, there's no multiplayer in this game. It's single player only. So it's focused.
Cool, Catherine.
Okay, for my pick, I'm going to put in a plug for Google's two-factor authentication, which I just recently started using in the last couple weeks. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's just a second line of security for your private information. So anytime you're on a computer that isn't recognized by your account, so like I go to a friend's house and I get on my Gmail, I have to also input a code that gets sent to my phone. And it just is, I've actually heard it said that's like the single thing you can do to improve your security is to use two-factor authentication. And I was avoiding it for a long time, thinking it was going to be this big inconvenient thing. And so I'll just report to anyone else who's having those apprehensions about using it is that it's not a big deal at all. It's actually...
It isn't now.
Well, Gordon is the one who said it was a big deal.
It used to, when I first started using two-factor, it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So.
Now Google just automatically sends you a 6-digit text message. You're like, okay. And you punch it in, you're done.
Yeah, it's very easy. So anyone who's not doing that, I encourage you to do it. It's, why not?
It'd be cool if you could have like a little drop-down menu, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you could like get on your friend's computer and then set his pass to like 9 and just leave or whatever. All right, go ahead, Gordon.
I'm just going to make something up because I never am prepared. But, I realized I was looking at my drawer of smartphones the other day, and I've used these holsters forever. And it's they're made by Seidio. Seidio. They're nice.
They're just clip-ons for your belt.
Yeah, because I'm a holster kind of guy because I'm married. So what the fuck do I care?
Wait, what does being married have to do with the phone holster?
I understand.
He's not trying to
who am I trying to impress?
Oh, he's saying that he doesn't have.
Right?
Okay,
I'm like, oh yeah, because it looks pretty dorky. Well, what do I care? What does it matter? I have
wait.
6
Hold
of these.
on. I knew you before you were married, Gordon. I don't remember you dressing that much differently.
I dress the same, but I did not carry my cell phone on my holster like this. Or like this, yes.
Did you waited until she actually accepted your marriage proposal?
I'm married. Well,
the next day you showed up with a holster on. And she was like, "What the fuck?"
And I've explained this to Nathan as well. But I said, you can wear the Leatherman holster on your belt. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Now you're married. It doesn't matter. It's over.
What about keeping the romance going? You don't.
Catherine, it's just it doesn't. I have 2 kids. I'm married.
All right.
It doesn't. It doesn't work that way.
We're
gonna get to that in a second. I'll give my. So my pick this week. This is also pretty simple. Is I actually switched from Chrome back to Firefox, and I switched.
Blasphemy.
Oh no.
I switched from Chrome.
I did too.
I originally went from Firefox to Chrome. That was my original switch.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of people out there are similar boat. You just think, well, Chrome is really fast. I mean, this thing, it's super fast, and Firefox just felt so slow. But I think when I switched to it, it must have been a million versions ago. They release new versions every week. It's crazy. So anyways, I had a lot of problems with Chrome. And I ended up switching back to Firefox just because I was, and it's funny coming back, because you're like, hey, what's up? It's cool. And it's actually, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to tell people that it's actually a really fast browser now. It feels really, really fast. I don't have any of the problems that I had with it before. It seems to be really good. So for those of you who are having some issues with Chrome.
But then I thought you started having problems with Firefox too.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. I don't know. My computer at home is exhibiting some very strange behavior. I can't really figure it out.
It's probably the NSA.
Oh, actually, I had a question that I wanted to ask you. I want to put to you guys for our question and answer period. This is my question. This is my dilemma. I'll give it to you really quickly. I have an online backup service, and I also have local backup at home. So I back it up remotely in case there's some sort of fire in my apartment or there's an earthquake or whatever. But the problem is I am adding too much data to my collection at home for the offline backup cloud storage to keep up with it. It cannot keep up with it because it's 100 gigs a week. Right, so I'm like, I don't really know what to do other than.
Well, there's the photo bucket thing, which allows you to store up to a terabyte.
Well, I have unlimited storage. I'm using.
It's just
my network connection only does 10 or 20 gigabit or a day or whatever. It's only 10 gigs a day if I'm lucky. Maybe.
You can just haul your computer over to the coffee shop and upload from there.
I mean, I don't
Bring
know.
it to work.
Huh?
Bring it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hooked up via Ethernet. That might help.
It's hooked up via Ethernet, yeah. So my pick is Firefox. I'm using version 21. It's also really awesome. And I want to throw in a mini pick too. I do a lot of work on my computer that requires me I want to have music in my headphones that drowns out the background music or background noise, but I don't want to have lyrics distracting me from what I'm doing. So I listen to a lot of like ambient music, so to speak. And this one band that I found I want to recommend. They're called All India Radio. They have a lot of really good CDs, and there's almost no lyrics in anything that they produce. And I'm gonna play like 5 seconds, maybe 8 seconds of the song. Here we go. Just check this out. This is called Ghost Song.
Picture car going down road in desert. Cactus.
It sounds like
wide shot.
All right,
framing
so
shot.
I think you'd also like
Josh.
I don't know why I started all over again. But basically, it's all just mellow. Anyway, so check it out. All India Radio. That's my pick.
I recommend Explosions in the Sky if you like that sort of music, and also
It sounds like the Terran music in StarCraft.
Also, Godspeed You Black Emperor. I think you like both those bands.
You know what actually kind of reminded me of a little bit is Borderlands 2. It has a little bit of Borderlands 2 sound too. But that's just one song. There's a whole range of songs. All right, that's all the time we have for picks. Thank you so much, guys. Let's get into Gordon's rant.
Now it's time for Gordon Mah Ung's Rant of the Week.
What the fuck is Katherine Stevenson? Okay, you want to know what else really pisses me off about this goddamn company? The people who go to eBay and pay more than retail. Are they just fucking morons? How many times can you chuckle at some farmer looking at some dumbass riding a Segway across town?
What should I talk about? No, I'm just trying to think of what to start with. I'll
What
start.
about clicking on YouTube to see a short clip and having watched a goddamn 30-second ad?
Yeah,
It's longer
what
than
you
the
can
clip.
do.
God, that annoys me.
You know, hey, don't complain about it. It could be like fucking Hulu. It's like, do you want to watch this ad? If you watch this ad, no commercials. Okay. Hey, why? I'm still getting fucking commercials. Right? That's bullshit.
What I love-
right? When they start doing that on YouTube, it's fucking over.
You get reduced commercials.
I love it when I watch a show with 7 commercials and they're all the exact same commercial too. That's really good time.
You know what I was talking about?
Like every single commercial break has a Uverse commercial in it. Have you noticed this? Is it just me?
It's only you because you have Uverse.
What about
No,
this?
I don't.
I don't have that.
I have Comcast at home.
They probably have hijacked
every
it.
single commercial break. There's at least one Uverse commercial. It's always like there's one or two.
This is on the
different
internet or on TV?
On TV.
What about when you try to shut down Windows 7? This happened to me this weekend. I click on my computer, shut down Windows 7, and then I turn my back as if I'm going to leave the computer, and then I walk across the room. Then I turn around and look to make sure it's being rebooted, and it says, "There's 5 programs still running." And you're like, "Yeah, okay, shut them off." And you
Right.
press yes, and then you turn around. I walk back across the room, and I turn.
you
I look
sure?
back. Yeah, it says, "Are you sure?" You're like, "Yes." Turn the fucking thing off.
Wait.
Seriously, are you sure?
God.
It is a little strange. Although I will say, why does it do that on the Mac too? It does that when you try to shut off OS 10. It says, "Are you sure you want to shut down?" Well, I did click the fucking shutdown button, right? I mean, you did. I clicked it, right? Yes. Are you sure? Isn't it? Why can't you turn that off?
Because sometimes you click it by accident.
I have that on my recycle bin. It says delete confirmation box. I have that unchecked. I do not want it to ask me, "Are you sure?" It's like I click delete. Delete that shit.
Have you noticed in Windows 8 though? Not actually. Windows 8, you can just delete stuff. It doesn't even ask you. But actually, I'm going to bring up a Windows 8 story because
good.
Okay.
everybody's like, "Oh, Gordon, he's like loves Microsoft now. Windows 8, blah blah blah." So I went to sleep early one night. Because I was just beaten by the sun all day. So I was tired as fuck. I go to bed early, right? So I go to sleep early, and then what happened is my wife's nephew had come over, so he was playing Battlefield 3 in my machine. My wife was up doing stuff and working on her machine. It's like, I don't know what. It's like, later midnight or whatever, 1 o'clock in the morning. She wakes me up. She's like, "How do you turn your computer off?" Right? Because she still has like Windows 7 on her machine, right? So she doesn't know how to turn off Windows. She's never used Windows 8.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm sure she's like sitting there using fucking Windows 8. Like, where's the start? How do you turn it off? Even if you could find the fucking start button, you still couldn't turn off fucking Windows 8, right?
It's a surprisingly epic journey.
It's insane. The restart, turn off on Windows 8. I don't know what the fuck they were
You have to bring up
thinking.
the charms bar.
Yeah, but no
Right there.
no civilian would know how to bring up the fucking charms bar.
Right.
And
gotta go
nobody
down.
who's
The fact
used
that
settings,
Windows 7 or earlier even knows
settings.
what a charms bar
The fact
is.
that it's called the charms bar also is them trying to be cute, and it doesn't really.
Yeah, because none of them are charms.
I don't know what that means. It has no point of reference.
There's nothing charming.
And then you have to hit the
Yeah.
power button, and then you have to hit shut down.
And it
Yes.
asks, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
Well, but I'm just saying. I mean, come on, couldn't they? And I really hope that's one thing they fix in Windows 8.1 or whatever the hell it is, Windows Blue. I mean, they really have to put fucking
So-
shut down.
Is
I
there a
have to
keyboard-
know. I have to know that. Were you able to like verbally describe to her how to do it, or did you have to?
I
get
think
up
I
and
told her move the cursor, move the mouse cursor to the corner, the lower right hand corner.
And
And
now
then it probably
quickly-
yeah, and then I'm sure it was like 10 times more. Like,
yeah.
Are you using Windows 8 on your?
because I don't have a touch screen at home. But even if I did have the touch screen, is she going to think, oh, I need to swipe from the bezel out to do that? I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
There's probably a keyboard shortcut though, because Windows 8 supposedly has. Like
no one knows the
hundreds of
Windows
them.
keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah.
What
There's
about?
that.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
What?
I have some more. I mean, what about this? What about coworkers who you all go? We're all going somewhere, right? All right, yeah, we're all going, and then you all go. All right, let's go. Then they go. I gotta go to the bathroom. Let me go to the kitchen. Let me go to the
I
fucking
do that
boardroom.
with
Let
the
me go to the
bathroom.
goddamn. That happens all the time. That's one thing. Or what about mandatory training at your job for stuff that?
Are you
No.
suggesting topics for him to rant
Just
about?
saying.
Look, there's nothing wrong with like when you're like, okay, hey, we're gonna go, and you go, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Because
right?
Gordon
There's
does that all
Do
the
you
time.
want to like, okay, let's go. They're in the car, and then you're like, hey, can you find a bathroom? It's like, no, we're.
The restroom
Can
is
you
actually
pull
on the
over?
way to the
Can you
exit
pull
of our
over?
building.
No. What? I would rather have them just take the
It's
minute,
convenient.
go to the bathroom, get in the fucking car, go to Subway because there's no fucking bathroom at Subway, right? So it's better to have them do that. What? Well, how could you complain about that?
How about this? What about this? The connectors for SATA. I'm bringing it back to PCs. The connector on your hard drive or storage device is black plastic. The SATA connector is black plastic. Your SATA cable, the connector is also black plastic. It is fucking impossible sometimes to see where that connector has to go unless you have like a halogen bulb pointing.
Or
at
a
it.
flashlight on
case
your
is
belt.
painted black internally because you're the badass guy. You know, you're
No, I'm
like,
saying
my
they
case is
should-
gonna look so awesome.
It would be nice if it was either some sort of universal connector you could just plug in without worrying about which end is up.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, frankly, I don't understand. Well, just like USB, right? It's like no matter what with USB, you always put it in the wrong way the first time. Doesn't matter. And it's like, okay, 50 fucking % chance you can do it. I'll just flip it over because it's like obviously 50%, and then it doesn't like no, that doesn't work either. It's like a 50%
I always try to
chance.
look before. I don't want to break anything. That's why.
Well, first I carry a flashlight because what the fuck? Who am I kidding, right? And two, just just have to accept that you're gonna not get it right.
The worst is when you put when you're looking from the top and you look at the Ethernet and you put the USB in the Ethernet because it
Yeah.
kind of looks the same width,
Really?
you know. There's
I
times
don't know.
where
Well, that's why we need a light on the back of the PC, so when you move your hand on the motion detector, they light up.
That would be nice.
I would pay, I don't know, a 400% premium for that, I guess.
Well, those are actually that does come in handy on a notebook when you put your hands over the keyboard and then the backlight comes on. That's kind of cool.
You can actually get a lamp that plugs into a USB port, but then of course you have that initial issue with plugging the lamp in.
You know, actually, I have seen machines that had lights back there. I think Dell had one. Actually, Dell had an old desktop that they had LED lights on the back of the machine
Nice.
built in so that they were always lit up so you could work on it back there.
Oh, that was this is XPS.
It was an XPS, yeah. So, I mean,
Dell's little foray into like hardcore gaming computers before they just said this
those
isn't
are nice
working.
machines,
Yeah.
frankly.
Well, they bought Alienware, and they're like, oh, we'll let Alienware do that.
Those XPSs were nice, but they were huge and they were like kind of weird. They had, I think,
I do want mine like a trash can. So people go like, what is that on your desk? It's my computer. No, really, what is it?
People stick their trash on top.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't they also kind of experiment with BTX briefly?
Everybody did BTX for a while.
Yeah. It was sort of like experimenting with acid in college.
Well, it was just, Intel says this is the future. They all did it as future, and no, it wasn't the future. All right, here's that. What?
Go ahead.
Go on. I don't get people who say the new Star. Has everybody seen the new Star Trek movie?
I've seen it.
No.
I haven't seen it yet.
Have you seen it?
I'm un-American.
It is not better than the Wrath of Khan. Anybody who fucking says that should be kicked out of the fucking Star Trek club, right? It is not better than the original Star Trek 2 Wrath of Khan. I don't care what anybody says.
Did you
Is that
like
what
it?
people are saying?
It was.
It was entertaining, right?
Yes,
It was entertaining.
I actually found it. I like the original fucking reboot more than the second one because you didn't know what to expect. But now we sort of like, we know what to expect, but it's the same shit. It's like, okay, sort of some Star Trek stuff, and then 10 minutes of really tense, action, right? But we know how the fucking action is going to end, so it's not really tense.
How was the lens flare this time?
There was so much fucking lens flare. It was
I
hard
thought there
to
was
believe.
less than the first time.
Oh, no, not on the bridge. It was everywhere. It's like, holy shit, You'd have to wear sunglasses on the bridge of the Enterprise.
That's too bad because that movie got like universally criticized for the.
He's saying fuck you. He says fuck you, nerds.
That's the only explanation.
Oh, you want me to fuck Star Wars up? You gonna talk about my lens flares? J.J. Abrams. I talked to him. He says, oh yeah.
J.J.
Oh,
Abrams.
you gonna talk about my lens flares? Oh, I'm gonna put Jar Jar in Star Wars. Oh, you want? Oh yeah, you like the lens flares now, don't you? Yeah, yeah. Oh yes, sir. Yeah, it's okay. You could. Yeah. Could you imagine that? They send it off to wherever, whatever, some CG studio. You're like, come on, man. Look at this fucking menu on After Effects. There's other fucking effects you can use, not just lens flares. He's like, you want me to put Jar Jar back in? Huh?
I did not see lens flares.
How about a young Jedi? You want some young Jedi? Oh yes, sir. I'll add some more lens flare right now, sir. Did you think?
I don't really watch Star Trek.
I'm
talking about. Yeah, I'm just saying he's got too much fucking control now.
J.J. Abrams, he's probably a little bit out of control.
He's got.
I know you said you wanted to go back in time to kill him before he was born.
I did not say that. I'm saying if I had a Terminator, I might have to send it after him.
Do you think he's going to do a worse job than George Lucas?
Oh,
and you can imagine that if you had a Terminator, you could just go Terminator and then just give them a name. That person, as far as you know, would be wiped off the earth. And
no, because you know what? It never fucking works that way. Because if you sent the Terminator back in someone, it would get fucked up. Right? Because it's like you would send your Terminator back, but J.J. Abrams would send like Steven fucking Spielberg back to stop the Terminator.
You know what the problem would be? Would be like if Terminator 1, if you didn't specify which Sarah Connor it was, he goes out and starts killing every Sarah Connor he finds. That's kind of messy.
Why?
Well, that's
it's
what
in the
happened in
past.
the first
You don't
movie.
care. You're Skynet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's got too much power.
He is the director.
You can't fuck with him. Nobody can fuck with him. What are you going to say? He's got lens flares, whatever. Take 50 years of Star Trek canon, flush that down the fucking toilet. Okay, yes sir, whatever.
At some point though, you have to kind of make way for a new narrative. It's been a long time.
Yes, let's take something that.
Right.
Like
let's
Windows 8.
Let's do a new narrative. Just let him have some, new narrative. Then why don't you just create something fucking new and not, why don't you do something totally new and not just redo fucking Star Trek or Star Wars? Right? Where's the new narrative?
Well, I'm just saying that Star Trek has been around for a long time.
Oh, I understand he's working on a new Gone with the Wind. Did you hear that?
I can't tell if you're serious or not.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. He's doing the next
J.J. Abrams.
How's he doing Star Wars and Star Trek?
Fucking, they give him everything, man. I mean, Star Trek made money no matter what, right? They're like, okay, we got this new project. We're gonna cast some of these, hot young stars in it, and Gone with the Wind.
Did you see Gene Wilder called the Tim Burton version of Willy Wonka an insult, quote unquote?
I was thinking that is an insult. That fucking movie, man. What were they thinking? Did you see it?
He said that their motivation was you have a bunch of executives. This is literally his quote. We're sitting around a table going, "How can we make more money?"
Sure.
He's 80 years old.
Who is?
Gene Wilder.
Oh yeah.
And is it true? I heard this. I heard a rumor that Gene Wilder was working on his own Terminator to send back to get rid of Johnny Depp before he was born. No.
Johnny, yeah, I know. Everyone just.
So he couldn't make.
You know what it was? Is maybe J.J. Abrams is the new Tim Burton.
Johnny Depp makes a pretty good pirate.
You know what? I would agree with you if there was only one of those fucking movies, right?
Yeah, the first one was pretty good.
Right.
Oh yeah, but you know what? Okay, second one. All right, you're allowed to fuck the second one up, and the third one sucked too. And then they're like, what? 4 others, and they all fucking sucked. I would say 5 shitty fucking movies outweighs 1 good movie.
I don't even remember if I saw the 4th one or not.
I didn't see the 4th one.
That's how bad my memories of the whole.
But I mean, I'm just saying, yeah, the first one was good, but come on, the other ones were so bad. What are you going to give him?
Those movies are not really about some sort of
story.
So
characters.
the people that are involved in that movie franchise are going to ride it into, basically just going to be sucking the life out of that thing until it's completely lifeless corpse.
Yeah, but I'm saying I really can't give him credit. I mean, He's enabling it. He's fucking enabling it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he should have said, like, okay, after that second one,
But
fuck it.
Where's his integrity?
That happened with I heard that with Will Ferrell. That he did that movie called like I Dream of Jeannie or whatever it was called.
He did?
I like that movie.
What was it called? You know what I'm talking
My
about?
phone's vibrating.
Anyways, they supposedly I read an interview with him a while ago. They said they offered him a sequel and for like $13 million, and he said no, turn it down.
Well, but he is doing Anchorman 2. And I will just say, I'm not a stoner, so obviously I wasn't stoned, so I didn't enjoy Anchorman.
Is your phone vibrating?
It was mine.
Okay.
I got it.
So
Anchorman.
Did you enjoy Anchorman?
Anchorman only had one or two funny moments, in my opinion.
Right. Unless you were high, otherwise it would not have been good.
Come on, that was a classic.
Right, because you were, living high
Anchorman.
at that moment, I think.
You can't just say that though. I don't like those blanket statements. Dude, that was a classic. Well, I mean, like I get that certain people feel that way, but you need to sort of justify it.
Well, you can justify it by saying I was high, I liked it.
Yeah, a classic is something like The Big Lebowski, where people are just quoting it nonstop for 20 years.
People do that with Anchorman.
No, I don't think.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Not to the same level as the.
No.
I mean, not really.
No,
dude.
not the
The
same level.
problem is the
Lebowski
people who
did.
quote Anchorman think they're saying some funny shit, but it's not funny. But people are being polite. Oh, it's an Anchorman reference, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna smile.
Do you remember a single?
Give you a polite one, so you don't fucking throw more Anchorman references at me.
Yeah. Steve Carell didn't have any funny lines in that movie at all. Paul Judd had the perfume line or whatever you call the cologne. Anyways.
Look, it wasn't like the other guys. Now the other guys, that's a good Will Ferrell movie.
You don't think the cologne scene was funny?
I wasn't high. If I were high, then maybe I would have enjoyed it.
Dang.
I mean,
I guess I'll have to agree to disagree. I was sober at the time.
you were so high.
I know what that says about
At
my
the
mental
time.
You were
state.
like Towley, right? You were like,
I enjoyed
maybe
it.
if I get a little high, I can watch this movie on Netflix.
Well,
Anyway,
we're about to go get a little high. No, I'm just kidding. But we are out of time for the podcast. Thanks so much for listening, you guys. We will be back in 2 more weeks. In the meantime, be sure and check us out. We're on Facebook, Twitter. We're on pretty much everything.
Oh wait, hey, I have one thing I would need to add.
Go ahead.
There is apparently a new C7 state in Haswell processor, but I mean 5-year-old power supplies support it. It's only certain power supplies that don't fully support, who are not really had the greatest design, could have some issues, which you can then switch off in the
yeah,
motherboard.
they'll burp and reset your computer.
All right, no worries. Thanks, guys. So if you do want to call and leave us a message for our next podcast, be sure and give us a call at 1-877-404-1337, extension number 1337. We actually have changed our voicemail now, so go ahead and give that a listen. Email us at maximumpcpodcast@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Subscribe on Kindle, Nook, Zinio, Google Play, and iTunes. So on behalf of Jimmy Thang, Tom McNamara, Gordon Mah Ung, and Katherine Stevenson, we are out.